Hey, and welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're now moving into our second segment for the morning, and it is a conversation with a representative of National Women's Commission on Victims Complaint Mechanism. Now, we'll tell you exactly what that is in just a few, but to talk to us is the program officer at the National Women's Commission, none other than Miss Eleanor Murillo. Miss Eleanor, good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Definitely. You're looking lovely this morning as per usual. And now,
Thank you.
when it comes to this victims complaint mechanism, we know the damper that COVID-19 have left upon us, or while it's upon us, what's going on in the households. There are studies are actually showing that domestic violence is on the rise. For the most part, somebody would tell you they'd go to specific areas to make their complaints and felt that, you know what, I'm not being treated properly, I'm not being heard, I don't feel like they're hearing where I'm coming from. And this prompts the victim's complaint mechanism. What is that about?
Yes, that's right. And so we are actually the secretariat and the coordinating mechanism for the National Gender-Based Violence Action Plan. And the action plan really is, its overall goal is a harmonized response to gender-based violence. We want to decrease incidences of gender-based violence, but increase adequate support for victims of gender-based violence, and of course, access to justice. And so that's our mandate. And so the victims complaint mechanism falls right under that. If we want to provide better services from our duty bearers who are responsible to assist victims of GBV, then that's where the complaint mechanism comes in.
So it's basically a place whereby you could complain about those who you're complaining to.
Right, exactly. And so if you are a victim of gender-based violence and you visited one of these government institutions, so we're talking about the police, we're talking about the healthcare facilities, we're talking about human services and women's department. We're talking about the court system, so family court and magistrates court, because those are the areas that victims of GBV would access. And so if you visit one of these institutions and you feel that the service was inadequate, you're dissatisfied with whatever services you received, then you are able to fill out this form and submit it to us.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind it is that when we receive these forms, there will be an internal investigation into your case to see what went wrong and how we can fix it. If we're talking about adequate services and support, then we have to ensure that all systems are in place.
So I'd imagine that from the experience that you have had so far, there had to have been some complaints for you to see that this mechanism was important. Explain why this process came about.
Yeah, of course. We know we have our laws, we have our policies and our mandates and so on. But we know that sometimes the systems, a lot of times people go and they will make complaint and they would say, but nothing has happened.
Yeah.
I've complained to the supervisor or whatever. And so this now looks from an outside lens because we're not service provider.
Yeah.
So it's looking from an outside lens now to listen to victims. So when, for example, somebody say, I was sexually abused and I went to the hospital and they had me there for 3 hours among everybody else. Now a victim who have been sexual abused, you don't want that person sitting and waiting for hours. That to me, that's a case that needs to be attended to urgently. So how can we ensure that the protocols in place are being followed in terms of speedy services for victims?
And I think one of the things that is really big on this scene is actually trusting the system and having the victim feel that, while I'm being victimized, something must be done and it has to be done promptly. I think that's one of the things that hinders the Belize Police Department, whereby I make a complaint, but I feel like there's not much being done for me to be satisfied or even wanting to go and make a complaint. How can you assure me that my complaint will be dealt with promptly so that I could trust the system and efficiently so that I am able to go there once something happens again.
Yeah, so this system now, as soon as we receive the complaints at our secretariat, we will ensure that we give the victim or their advocates, because the good thing about this complaint mechanism, it's not just victims that can fill out the form, but also advocates, so somebody on their behalf.
Yeah.
And it does not have to be somebody from an institution. It could be a neighbor, a friend, a family
Nice.
member. So you again can support that person and help to fill out the form for them. So we give them an initial call to say, I have received your form, and please give us 14 days, within 14 days, so that the investigation can be done. And then we will follow up and then tell you what has happened to the situation that you complained about.
Awesome. When you think of some of the challenges that women or victims face, if they've been victims of gender-based violence, it's always very difficult to be able to make that report in the first place. Have people been trained, these frontline persons, to be able to take these reports? And what are some of the challenges there? How will this complaint mechanism help to fix that?
Well, over the years, training has been ongoing, and we know that people get transferred. We know people leave the system, and new people come in, or new persons. And in each area, we know that it's unique.
Yeah.
Situation you find at the hospital or the police station in Corozal is different from if you come to Belize City. And so, yes, training is ongoing, and we know capacity building has to be continuous. It has to be purposeful. But again, it also rests on those duty bearers to really take on the information they receive and apply it. And also supervisors to ensure that whatever protocols, because there are protocols already in place, that people are following the protocols.
Excellent.
And assisting victims, whether man or woman, because that again is an issue.
Yeah.
When the man, we receive a lot of complaints that when men go to complain about domestic violence, for example, and remember, domestic violence is just one form of gender-based violence.
Yeah.
That they will be laughed at. They will be told, go home and make up with your wife or whosoever it may be.
Yeah.
And so we don't want these types of things to be happening. If somebody comes, you take their statement, you assist them how you can. If you cannot, then you refer.
Yeah.
So, so those are some of the processes that we need to ensure is in place.
Is it a new system because we're seeing things rise, or the system has been there and we're just trying to advocate more about it? Because we're hearing about these things very, very often, of people making complaints and not being able to get that feel of comfort thereafter. Is it new?
It is new in a sense that now we're rolling it out, at this level, because as I mentioned previously, each department, they have their own protocols and internal systems in place.
Yeah.
But this system comes in alignment with the National Gender-Based Violence Action Plan.
Yeah.
And so it calls for this to happen. And so we have been looking at it for a year to see how we will really roll it out and introduce it and use it and ensure that it works effectively. And so even as we roll out countrywide, we want to ensure that we monitor so that we can improve as we go along. So it won't stay the same forever. So if we know in some areas we need to change certain things, then that's a part of the entire mechanism as well.
I mean, I can imagine, because if you see or hear the complaints, then you're able to know what needs to be fixed. But let me get to another point in terms of the investigation that will take place, because that's also crucial. If I go to, let's say, a police station, and I feel that they didn't take my complaint seriously, and I file that complaint, who's going to investigate it?
So as I said, it comes to us, and we refer the cases to the department, and they will do their internal investigation, of course, with oversight from from the National Gender and Gender-Based Violence Committee, we will also be monitoring and seeing what is in place and what happened with the cases. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with us. We have to ensure that the internal is done, but we are also out here monitoring and ensuring that victims of GBV get the justice that they deserve.
And where can I get the forms? How do I fill out these forms?
Well, we have physical forms, and we will have them in places like the hospital, the police department, women's department, but also some NGOs like BFLA in the districts where they are, the youth department, and we also have some women's group and so on who will be having these forms in their district. Later on, we will try to engage other well-trafficked business places as well to host the forum, so that people don't have to feel like I have to go to a police station. I already don't want to go there, and then I'm going there for a form or fill out a form there. So we also want to collaborate with other businesses and other establishments to host the forms as well, so that people may feel satisfied and
have safe spaces to go.
Fill it out, and safe spaces, right? Also, we will have it online on our National Women's Commission website and Facebook page. So those who are more tech savvy can get it there and fill it out, and it comes straight to us. And so we're looking at other ways how we can ensure that we reach all areas of society. So even deep in villages, as I said, we're working with other NGOs and CSOs who can assist us. For example, in Toledo, we have a group, and they go into the villages in rural Toledo, and so they will actually physically be taking the forms when they go to do their work. So if they're victims, there are people who are interested, or other CSOs, they can also ensure that they have the forms for those people who they serve.
Eleanor, while we're advocating at this particular point about this victims complaint mechanism, people definitely would want to trust the system. But I trust the system more knowing that the people that I'm complaining about is being dealt with. What happens there? Because, and I think that's a very important one, because the public officer or the person you're complaining about could say, they made their complaint, nothing is going to happen, that's just the system, that's the way it is. What happens to the person that I complain about?
The thing is, we don't want to see it that we're complaining about a person. We want to see it that we're complaining about the protocols and the systems in place, not adhering to. So it's not that, because then we don't want people to feel, oh, I don't like that one, so I will go and make a complaint against them. So it's not about the person, it's about the protocols in place. It's about abiding by the rules and laws and so on, and ensuring that victims of GBV get the justice, the service that they deserve. And so we will hold the supervisors and those higher level persons accountable to change, to ensure that these systems are actually working for victims of GBV.
And I'm glad. I was going to ask something similar in terms of the commitment that you have from the different departments, whether it's from the Ministry of Health, from National Security, that they are committed to upholding the best protocols in working with victims of gender-based violence, because that's where it's going to really be enforceable.
That's right. Well, remember that these same organization, they are a part of the National Gender and Gender-Based Violence Committees, and so they have senior officials on that committee. And so it makes it easier for us, instead of looking all over the place, who can we go to? So we, with the committee members, those are the persons that we are able to go to and ensure, and also to tell them, what, we have not received any follow-up on this case, or we have not heard from so and so, because we submitted 10 cases, and so we through the committee we'll be able to hold these organizations and departments accountable.
Can I make complaints on behalf of someone else? Let's say I'm a reporter. I reported a case, and I didn't see, it's my neighbor, the police hasn't come, the abuse continues. I went back, I reported. Can I also fill out this complaint to let you know that I'm making reports to
Yes.
this station and they're not following up?
Yes, so yes, advocates basically is anybody can make the report on behalf of someone, right, with their approval. Because the form does ask for their name and their information, because we want to make it very intimate. We want people to know that we are serious and we care about them. So it's not just another form where you fill out and you hear nothing.
Yeah.
We want to be able to call you back and say, Marlene, I have received the form that you filled out for Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, and this is what I have done this, and within 2 weeks I will get back to you on what has happened. So it's more it's very, we want people to be a part and to understand that we're serious about this and we're included. It's very inclusive. So it's not something I fill out and I never hear again what happened. And then things may be happening behind the scene, even though you're not hearing. But in this case, you will be hearing back about the case that you made and what has happened.
Help us understand the type of complaints that you can file, because you said something really interesting. You don't want some. I mean, there are always malicious people. And some may do things just to get somebody in trouble. But this is a real situation. What are the type of complaints that you would usually hear that you would hope people would document on this form?
Well, it talks about the services, adequate services for victims. And so if I go to any one of the institutions that I previously mentioned, the police, the health, because I don't want to be pointing fingers at anyone. Yeah, at any one of them. And you're there waiting, and then when you did see somebody, nothing happened, or you left that place feeling that nothing was accomplished, they did not help me, they did not tell me anything, then you have a case. If you're there and they will tell you, no, don't bother with that, man, go home and see how it will work out, or go and work it out. That is not their purview to tell me what. They're supposed to abide by what's in place. Fill out that form, fill out that report, refer me if you cannot help me, or tell me where I need to go. But just, beating around the bush, or, oh, Officer X is not here, so we can't help you today, or, oh, they just went out. No, at the end of the day, when you leave that office, you want to feel like you accomplished something, or that you were being helped. Even if it means that you were referred or given a number, or told, you know what, the first place is not here, but you can go there. Then as a victim, you'll still feel good that at least you got some type of headway.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm here sitting as well, and we know, this pandemic is looming, and folks would not want to go. You don't want to venture off into another office. You don't want to go in there. You have no idea who was in there, and we're trying our best to keep safe. Am I able to do all of this online?
Yes, that's what I said. We'll have it on our Facebook page and on the National Women's Commission website, National Women's Commission Belize, and you would end up on our website or the Facebook page. We want to have it online. If people, they're not accessing it and they have an email and they contact us, again, we can send it to them so that they, easy, attach it and send it back to us. And we'll input the information. So we want to make it very easy and user-friendly for the general public. If we want this to work, then we have to try as many avenues as possible.
Of course,
Definitely.
of course. Wow. Now, of course, looking at the general situation of people who are experiencing gender-based violence, what have you seen so far over the course of the pandemic? Are we seeing similar numbers to what we've seen before? I know we had 2 consecutive years of over 2,000 domestic violence reports. Are we seeing these types of numbers again?
Well, 2020 has been very interesting in terms of the data. We saw increases up in March, just before our SOE and our lockdown. And then in April, it decreased. In May, it increased a little bit. And in June, it went up. And so, it's very interesting to look at data to see, wow, what is happening here? Is it that when we were under heavy lockdown that people were locked in, they couldn't report, or is it that people we're more focused on other things and working together,
Yeah.
or things like that. But the 2020 overall for gender-based violence, the numbers are decreasing. But as I said, we're watching at it because first quarter and second quarter data is looking up and down. So we are monitoring to see what are the numbers and what may be some of the underlying issues in terms of reporting and so on.
And we never want to lose an opportunity to tell people where they can go and who they can turn to. If someone is watching right now and knows that their life, their emotional health, their physical health, that they're being threatened in any way, who can they turn to, and where can they call first?
Yeah.
If it's urgent, 911, the police department, the GBV hotline 0800 a way out. And also we got another line for the police department in terms of reporting GBV for those users of smart, because before, people with smart numbers were not able to call the 0800 free of charge. So now we have a new smart where people can call 911 or 0800 without a cost. In addition, we also got a cell phone for the violence unit, where they can WhatsApp or text to 672-9628. And so if it's you may not be able to call, but you want to text, you're in some situation where you don't want to make any noise, you can text or WhatsApp 672-9628 to the police department, family violence unit, to get assistance.
Excellent.
And finally for me, as the program officer at the National Women's Commission, I'll tell you what, Ms. Eleanor, we try our best to issue advice, so we don't even have to even think about wanting to go and make a complaint. What do we say to households, husbands, wives, right now, to quell a situation, to have that conversation? What would be your advice to a household?
Yeah, we know these are very stressful times, dealing with COVID, dealing with all the other issues that has come along with it. Maybe not working, the children, they're not in school, thinking about the future, what will happen to us. And so at this time, people need to be patient with one another, I would say. If we have two angry people, then we're in trouble. So somebody needs to be the bigger person and help to keep things calm, talk to each other, listen to each other instead of barking at each other. We need to love one another, respect one another in the home. Remember, especially where children are in the home, they're looking at what's going on, and it also affects them emotionally. I was just in a forum yesterday that we're studying the Caribbean in five of our Caribbean countries, and some of the same issues came out. That one of the trends we saw with these countries is that when children see abuse, they themselves end up in abusive situation, whether they're the abuser or the abusee. And so, we need to be more careful when we're talking as adults, when we're things are raising, somebody need to walk away. We need to cool down. Maybe we can talk a little bit later. Things like that. So, to help the situation.
Oh, wow.
All right, and of course we do encourage anyone who finds themselves in the cycle of abuse to be able to reach out to neighbors or family members who can be able to help you, reach out to the authorities. And of course now, if you're not getting the response that you would appreciate or that is helpful, you have the victim's complaint mechanism, a form that you can fill out so that the service can improve for anyone else that comes after you. Eleanor, we thank you so much for explaining to us how this works, and we really hope that this helps to improve the systems that do currently exist.
Okay, thank you too. And I hope that people would visit our website and Facebook page, for more information.
Definitely. Thank you so very much, Ms. Eleanor.
Thank you.
All right, so we're about to take that break, Marlene, but I'll tell you what, you could do it yourself. You could do it yourself. We're talking Tux Belize and fried chicken. They'll be in to tell us about their dry batter mix. Tux up yourself when we come back.